Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the r/EntitledPeople subreddit, so let's jump into it. Father wants to give daughter a loan for a house, then demands to live there, be taken care of, and repaid. A little background for context. My 37-year-old male, girlfriend, 35-year-old female, and I live on the Northeast US, and her father, 68, who she hasn't seen in 16 years and rarely talks to, lives on the West Coast. Recently, her father and uncle found out she rents an apartment and said they would help her buy a house. Her and I were both very thankful, as I would be moving in as well. We had little to no input. Her father and uncle found a house for $90K that needed probably about $20K in repairs. Walls had to have new drywall and insulation put in. Bunch of the floor needs to be replaced. It also needed some type of water heater, as the one here before had leaked. It was a total mess of a house. One thing that kept getting mentioned is that her and I would be doing the basement, which needed tons of work as well, and making it an area for him to live. One thing that I should mention is that her father's health is declining. He has a lot of dietary restrictions and what looks to be early Parkinson's. So they had put a bid of $70K for the house. Come to find out, they expected us to pay back the $70K while catering to her father, cooking his meals, doing his laundry, and waiting on him hand and foot. Thankfully, the people selling the house didn't take the deal, as we were not about to let her father live with us. Wow, what a deal. You get all the responsibility of someone else's care and upkeep, and you also get to pay for it. How could you pass up that once-in-a-lifetime offer? We've come across these estranged relatives before that never cared for the OP, but now that they're old or sick, they suddenly expect to be taken care of without the bat of an eye. It's flabbergasting, really. Honestly though, OP and his girlfriend shouldn't have even accepted the offer. They set themselves up for disaster by accepting an offer from an estranged relative. That couldn't have possibly gone well in the first place. Your sister died? Too bad. I'll just empty the house. This happened 15 years ago. My sister died on the 27th of December. The very next day, I got a call from the neighbor telling me people were emptying the house. I rushed down to my sister's house to find my aunt, uncle, and their 4 kids emptying the house. They never called my mother or me, they just called my drunk of a brother, knowing he'd let them in for a bribe, and he of course let them in. When I arrived, I saw an SUV bursting at the seams with stuff, and my cousin driving off with a smug look on her face. I was livid. I called my mother to tell her about the situation, then stormed into the house to find 2 of my cousins in the spare bedroom, rummaging through the kids' things, and the other in my sister's room, going through everything. My aunt and uncle were in the living room picking through stuff. They all had the place turned upside down. My drunk of a brother was just sitting on the sofa downing a can of beer. I was beyond mad and screamed at them, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" Keep in mind, it hadn't even been 10 hours since I left the hospital where my sister died. They smugly said, "Sister is dead. She doesn't need this stuff anymore. We do need it, so we're taking it." I snatched the jewelry box out of her Vulture hands and tried to throw them out. I was only a dainty 26-year-old at the time, so they took no notice. About 20 minutes later, my mother shows up, and all hell breaks loose. She screams at them, demanding they bring the stuff back that they stole, but they said, "No, we need it for our grandkids." With that, my mother threw them out, ripped my brother a new one, and locked up the house. Honestly, who steals from a dead person that's not even cold yet? Why does this happen so often? OP should have called the police immediately. They were stealing, breaking and entering as well. I read in the comments that no, they didn't get any of the sister's stuff back because the family pawned it all so quickly. They also never called the police for whatever reason. OP states that they wish they would have though. And like I already said, I agree that they should have called the police, since aunts, uncles, and cousins aren't entitled to anything that belongs to their frickin' niece, and what they pulled was indeed theft. But regardless, OP also states that after the incident, their entire family, extended and all relatives far and wide, went no contact with these entitled ones, which is a good call. Too busy to replace a drink? You're about to be a lot less busy. This happened a while ago, but I was reminded of it recently. My then fiance and I were at the movies ordering drinks. She's a type 1 diabetic, so she needs to have a sugar-free drink. And I don't like the taste of diet stuff, so I get full sugar drinks. We ordered drinks, and when the server put them down in front of us, we asked which was which. He shrugged, and then when I kept staring at him, expectantly pointed at one and told me he thought it was that one. I grabbed a couple straws and took a sip of each. They tasted exactly the same. Asked if he even gave us a sugar-free one, and he didn't answer. I passed one of the drinks back and asked that he replace it with sugar-free. He refused immediately and said once it was poured he couldn't swap it. I explained the diabetes issue and told him I knew for a fact he could change the drink if a customer wasn't happy. He argued this wasn't the case and that he'd be sacked if he swapped it, which I was flabbergasted by. Firstly, because he was lying, and secondly, because I just explained this was a medical issue. And then he half shouted that it was really busy and he didn't have time to change it. We'd already held up the queue enough. I stared at him silently for a moment, then asked, "You're new here, aren't you?" Silence from him. I then said, "I'm OP. I'm one of the supervisors here," while handing him my employee discount card. "I'm off work this week, so we haven't met yet. Replace the drink so we can go and see our film, and we'll discuss this another time." Dude was white as a sheet, but got the new drink. A few days later, he's in a disciplinary meeting for failing to follow policies and giving poor customer service. Usually, that would have resulted in a warning, but trying to force a customer to take a drink that could theoretically put her in a coma upped it to him getting fired. Not only that, but the reason he got a job there in the first place was that his girlfriend worked there and put in a good word for him. His behavior, both the incident itself, she was pissed that she now looked bad for recommending him, and the way he apparently whined about it for weeks afterwards and tried to find a way to sue the cinema instead of looking for a new job, led to her dumping his ass. So Guy went from being too busy to pour a drink to having no job and no relationship. Guessing he had a lot more free time on his hands after that. Ha! That is awesome. So, I will admit my bamboozlement, because this is actually a petty revenge story, but I decided to throw it in here with the entitled peeps, because that employee was definitely entitled. I particularly enjoyed this one, because not only is it r/petty revenge, as well as r/entitled people, but it's also r/I do work here. A good old-fashioned 3-in-1. And this story was such a good reminder to always be civil, because you really never know who someone is or who they know. But anyways, that is all for me today. I hope you enjoyed those 3 entitled people stories /petty revenge /I do work here. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!